Imagine you are standing at a crossroads. Behind you is a long, familiar road that you have traveled for years. It is comfortable, even if it is not making you happy. Ahead of you is a wide, empty space with no clear path. You have just made a massive change in your life. Maybe you stopped a long-term habit, left a career, or moved to a place where you know no one. The big decision is over, and the initial rush of excitement has faded. Now, the silence sets in. You find yourself asking a very quiet, almost frightening question. Who am I now that I am no longer doing that thing? Most of us think that the hard part of change is the decision itself. We think that once we say no to a habit like drinking or yes to a new life, the work is done. But the real challenge is actually what comes next. It is the process of building a new identity out of thin air when the old one has been stripped away. It is about learning to be okay with being a little bit boring while you wait for the new version of yourself to grow. This brings us to a common surface concept that we often mistake for the whole truth. When people talk about making a life change, they usually focus on the act of subtraction. They talk about what they quit, what they lost, or what they are avoiding. We look at sobriety or lifestyle changes as a series of things we are no longer allowed to do. On the surface, it looks like a battle of willpower. We imagine someone sitting in a room, gripping their hands together, trying not to reach for a glass of wine or a phone. But if you only subtract, you are left with a void. This void is dangerous because the human mind hates empty spaces. If you do not find something to fill that hole, your old habits will eventually crawl back and simply because they are familiar. True change is not about what you take away, it is about what you put back in. It is about finding hand food, small activities that keep your body and mind occupied so you do not have time to dwell on the past. Beneath this surface lies a hidden assumption that we all struggle with. We assume that our personality is a finished product. We tell ourselves that we know what we like, what is funny to us, and what we are capable of. We often believe that drugs or alcohol or certain social circles are the keys to our creativity or our social charm. We worry that if we stop those behaviors, we will lose our spark and become a humorless version of ourselves. But this assumes that the person you were while you were drinking or following old habits was the only authentic version of you. It ignores the possibility that there is a more truthful, sharper version of yourself waiting to be discovered. We often fear that without the old habits, nothing will ever be funny again. We assume that boredom is a failure, when in fact, boredom is often the soil where new creativity starts to grow. When you stop blurring the lens of your life, you might find that you are a completely different kind of artist or friend than you imagined. This leads to a structural pattern in how we navigate our daily existence. We tend to look for grand solutions to our problems. We want a lightning bolt of inspiration or a complete overhaul of our soul. But the structure of a successful life is actually built out of very small, mundane blocks. It is the pattern of waking up early, going for a jog, or knitting a few rows of a sweater. These are not just hobbies, they are pillars. They provide a new rhythm to the day that replaces the old cycle of regret and repetition. We see this pattern clearly in the way creative people find their way back to their work. Sometimes, you have to draw stick figures or sketches of mermaids living boring lives just to keep your hand moving. This mundane creativity is a structural shield against the darkness. It allows you to inhabit a fantastical world while still dealing with the very real, very ordinary thoughts of your daily life. It is the practice of showing up for the small things that eventually builds the big things. By repeating these small, healthy patterns, we slowly rewrite the story of who we are. We are reframing the entire idea of self-discovery from a deep, heavy search into a playful experiment. Instead of asking the overwhelming question of who am I, we can ask the much lighter question of what else might I like. This reframing allows us to treat our lives like a laboratory. We can try things we haven't done since we were children. We can Google what do people do for fun and actually try the things on the list, even if they seem silly at first. We are giving ourselves permission to be an imposter in a new life until it starts to feel real. You might start jogging and feel like a fake runner, but as you tire yourself out and clear your head, you realize that the label doesn't matter. What matters is the feeling of being devoted to something that makes you feel good. This perspective shifts the focus from avoiding the bad to chasing the good. You are no longer a person in recovery, you are a person in discovery. This can be applied to your daily life by embracing the power of retrying. Think about the things you have definitively decided you hate. Maybe you think you are not a morning person, or you hate exercise, or you aren't creative. What if that version of you was just a product of your old environment? Applying this insight means being willing to test those assumptions. It means taking a moment in the middle of a routine day to ask, do I even like what I am doing right now? If the answer is no, you have the power to change the channel. You can swap out a habit of mindless scrolling for a habit of journaling or drawing. You can find joy in the routine and the boring because that is where your life is actually happening. It is about moving from a state of being stuck in your memories to a state of being active in your present. Every morning is a chance to audibly say to yourself that you are willing to see what life is like without the things that used to hold you back. We often think that change is a straight line, but it is actually a messy, evolving process. You might find a style or a passion entirely by accident just by keeping your hands busy. The key is to stay open to new experiences and to never assume that the person you are today is the person you have to be in 5 years. You might become someone who loves the early morning quiet or someone who finds deep humor in the mundane struggles of parenting. These shifts are precious because they show that we are not fixed in stone. We are more like a piece of art that is constantly being edited and refined. The more we lean into the discipline of self-care, the more we find that we have energy and passion we didn't know we possessed. It is not about being special or better than anyone else, it is just about doing the things that work for you. We must protect our time and our energy so we can use them for things we truly value. Whether it is through a newsletter, a running path, or a quiet hobby, we are all just trying to navigate the divide between who we were and who we are becoming. It is a journey that requires self-honesty and a lot of patience, but it is the most rewarding work we can do. We are all artists of our own lives, drawing and redrawing our path every single day. If you were to wake up tomorrow and decide that everything you thought you knew about yourself was actually just a habit, what is the very first thing you would try differently just to see if you actually liked it?